stand for the pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, Trish.
Mrs. Brew?
Here.
Mr. Kramer?
Here.
Mr. Menegini?
Here.
Mr. Marraro?
Here.
Mr. Pop?
Scott's sick tonight. He called me, so do I have a motion to excuse Mr. Pop?
Motion to excuse Mr. Pop from tonight's meeting.
Support.
Mr. Kramer?
Yes.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Mr. Marraro?
Yes.
Mrs. Brew?
Yes. We'll move on to the approval of the agenda. Do I have any questions or comments? If not, I need a motion.
Make a motion, we approve the agenda.
Support.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Mr. Marraro?
Yes.
Mrs. Brew?
Yes.
Mr. Kramer?
Yes.
We'll move on to the approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of July 5th, 2021. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion to approve the regular meeting of July 5th, 2021.
Support.
Mr. Marraro?
Yes.
Mrs. Brew?
Yes.
Mr. Kramer?
Yes.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Move on to the approval of manifest 2021-14. Brett, did you have any questions?
I have none.
Jeff?
I have none, Madam Mayor.
Rico?
None.
And I have none. Do I have a motion?
I move we approve manifest 2021-14 in the amount of $378,710.98. Support.
Mrs. Brew?
Yes.
Mr. Kramer?
Yes.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Mr. Marraro?
Yes.
Did we have any previous questions?
No previous questions.
Okay. Anyone in the audience wishing to address the council on an agenda item only shall do so now at the podium. Anyone on Zoom must use the chat feature. Submit your questions or comment, and it will be read out loud by one of the members of staff. In either case, state your name and address for the record. Comments shall be limited to 3 minutes.
We have nothing from online.
We're going to move on to appointments and presentations. Ordinance 446, mobile food operations. Mr. Anderson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Okay, so this is second reading for a new ordinance for mobile food operations. Ordinance has gone to both the DDA and the Planning Commission. I've incorporated a couple of comments. Main comments come out of site plan review and specifically the site plan conditions. I don't know if council has any questions following that. I am planning to bring that back to the DDA to follow back through, and then requesting council to advise if they would be comfortable moving forward or how they would want to proceed on the ordinance.
Any questions?
Yes. What's the, so explain to me the annual, it's an annual
Sure.
license?
You know, of course, the language that comes from the ordinances it was language that we took from other ordinances of similar type. What they had in the other ordinances was a annual license, basically says city business license year. We really don't have a definition of city business license year. So in essence, it would be considered an annual license. That can be anything that we designate. So if we want to make it as 30, 60, 90, 120, a certain amount of days, we could. So it's totally up to council on that. It's in that provision, though, Article 4 duration.
Thanks.
And it is non-transferable.
Thank you. I think I've been on record pretty much, consistently saying that I'm not a big supporter of, a mobile type setup, being able to come to town and set shop for, a long extended period of time. I think it hurts our business, our brick and mortar businesses, the folks that have, invested in our community. Madam Mayor, so I would like to make sure we talk about that a little bit more down the line about, how we, what kind of time limits we can, put on something like that.
So I plan on, there's a DDA meeting on Wednesday.
Okay.
I can run it past the DDA as far as the, what they specifically, comments they would specifically have for timeframe. Next steps for the ordinance would be a public hearing. You don't have to pass it or move on it. I mean, so there's still plenty of time for steps in the process. But we do need feedback to get an idea as to, what would be appropriate for council to ultimately accept.
Thank you.
Was there any other areas that you had concern?
No, I think everything else that's pretty much like boilerplate personally.
We put stronger language in our ordinance than the examples on the site plan review. Taking some feedback on the process, and so we want to make sure that it goes through a very clear process, and it does differentiate between private and public. On public, there's specific language dealing with locations and so on and so forth, and then on private property, again, we really steer into that site plan review and some of those nuances.
Thanks.
Any other questions on that? And we'll move on to the Michigan Municipal League Workers' Compensation Fund.
Okay, thank you, Madam Mayor. This particular request is annual process through the Michigan Municipal League's our Worker Compensation Fund Board. They have a committee that seeks nominations for open seats on an annual basis. We do this every year. This year, there's 5 candidates from the nominating committee, and of course, the nominating committee does endorse the 5 candidates, and there can be write-in candidates if you choose, but there's 3 incumbents and 2 seeking their first term. Those names have been given to you in your packet.
Any questions on that? All right, we'll move on to Michigan Municipal League
They do
designation.
need a vote.
Oh, you want me to vote here? I didn't know.
Yeah, hold on.
Do I have a motion?
Make a motion that the 5 candidates proposed by the MML's nominating committee be endorsed by the City of Norway City Council.
Support.
Mr. Kramer?
Yes.
Mr. Minigini?
Yes.
Mr. Marrero?
Yes.
Mrs. Brew?
Yes. Move on to the Michigan Municipal League designation of voting delegates.
So on this particular agenda item, again, this is an annual activity council sees on or about this time. The annual meeting for the Michigan Municipal League, to which we're of course a member, happens in September or October of each year, in the fall of each year. And the city designates somebody as their voting delegate for that meeting. That person would be attending the meeting, and this year it is actually in Grand Rapids, Michigan. It's 3 days. It's September 22nd through the 24th, and typically I have gone to these meetings, but I'm encouraging council to consider going. Of course, this would be my last year if I did go down, and it would be good for somebody to take that torch. Not sure the status of the new manager coming in at that time, but I do know that in talking with not only Michigan Municipal League, but Trish, did you contact them? To find out, okay, so we have to contact the Michigan Municipal League to find out if we sign up for the conference, if it's under the city's name, which I've talked to a couple other groups, and that's what they do, is that if I sign up for the city, that if somebody else is going to go, that they could just transfer that over to whoever goes, because you do have to sign up early, especially to get the hotel rooms in those areas.
Mhm.
So you don't have to vote on this tonight if you want to discuss it to see how you want to handle it. But it is something that we're going to have to decide. If no one does go, it's just we wouldn't be voting during the annual meeting. typical types of votes that you would have. The main thing is they vote on the board of directors during that meeting, and there's some bylaw changes that they always have every year. They review the bylaws during the year, different things, and they vote on the league rules. So those are the main functions of the annual meeting. So it's totally up to the council if they wanted to table this. And
How important do you think this meeting is great for the city?
The annual meeting is not the main component of the conference. It's part of it, and it is good that we get down as attendance. But I think the exposure that we have, the discussions that you have, especially as council members, the Michigan Municipal League is more of the political arm of our organizations, not the manager's side, but the managers participate just because there's a manager's portion amongst that. But you do get good contacts, good exposure, good experience in going. So I think it is highly valuable for the city to participate, but not in a functional sense, more of the types of things we talked about where we have exposure outside the city limits. If you missed a year, it would not be the end all be all.
What days are there?
September 22nd through 24th. The actual meeting is 4 p.m. on the 22nd.
I don't know if I can do it or
I
not.
can probably go, possibly.
You want to come back and see?
Yeah.
Okay, why don't you wait? Give me some. I know.
Yeah, that's all right.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Is that all right with everybody? Unless there's somebody who,
Doesn't work. I was planning on being downstate
Are you?
around then anyway, yeah.
Roll. Let Rico
If
go.
that doesn't work out,
Yeah.
I was gonna go on Thursday.
We're on a day early.
What if I go down a day early? I can kill two birds with one stone.
Perfect.
that would be
Let
good
me,
too.
hold on, let me check my date just to make sure. Yeah, Michigan State, Nebraska.
There you
I
go.
was going down there.
You might win
One
one.
game anyway.
Okay. All right, so should we pencil you in or?
Pencil me in.
Okay.
Perfect.
Something
Need to vote on
comes
that
up.
tomorrow.
Yeah, if you want to go in that direction, I mean, I think you could possibly make changes if something happened. You know, just, it's better to get it signed up early,
Yeah.
and then we're better off to try and make
So I mean,
changes.
we have someone new coming in by then.
Yeah, so
No
let's
problem.
do that, so then we can sign everybody up or sign you up and get you set up.
Sounds good.
I do know the hotels go fast,
Yeah.
so you want to make sure you get
Yeah,
set
so
up.
Wednesday for sure, Wednesday.
Wednesday, Thursday.
Wednesday, Thursday.
Yeah. I can skedaddle on Friday.
There you go.
Perfect.
That's great.
Yeah, awesome.
Appreciate it.
Just worked out perfect.
Do you want to vote on that?
We need to vote.
Yeah, make a
Make a
motion.
motion.
Motion that Rico Meningee be the delegate to the annual Michigan Municipal League business meeting.
Support.
Mr. Menegini,
Yes.
Mr. Mararo,
Yes.
Mrs. Brew,
Yes.
Mr. Kramer.
Yes.
All right, we'll move on to communications, resolution 2021-19, operating agreement with the Norway Diamonds Board.
Okay, so I'm going to turn this over to Mr. Carlson. He can fill you in on the latest discussions. This was tabled from the last meeting.
Thank you, City Manager Anderson. So council, this is back before you for consideration. Mr. Anderson identified this as a group of individuals that were working out at the baseball fields without a formal agreement or a formal relationship in this regard with the city for oversight and putting some parameters in place. This been working with the main contact has been the president of the Norway Diamonds. I think this really kind of got kickstarted last year where there was maybe some communication concerns with the folks that were doing the maintenance out at the fields. We identified that as an issue and wanted to clean that up, and it turned into kind of acknowledgement that there's so much work being done out there that we identified, it's a formalized group. There should be insurance coverage, naming us as additional insured. Councilman Marrero brought up a point as well regarding some of the fundraising that was going on. So what we did was put together a group agreement throughout the state. When you have city-owned facilities, of course, the city is stretched thin already with workers. The city relies a lot on volunteers, just like many other municipalities in the state do as well. So this is kind of a general framework from various other entities downstate that have athletic complexes. And it's been adjusted accordingly to meet our needs, pared down a bit to try to get to the point. I did, after the last meeting, listening to some of the council persons' concerns, comments, we did add in paragraphs 23, 24, and 25. Number one is the paragraph 23 regarding promotions, defining and designating and referencing the promotional and fundraising for sign placement on the fencing out there. Transparency, paragraph 24, referencing and making sure and along with the lines of the communication, each spring as council is working on their budget, you know, it's the city-owned fields, just like it's the city-owned parks throughout our community. The city will presumably be making their budgets up and designate and define how they want to proceed and providing projects at all the parks. If the entity out at the Diamonds wants to do additional work, the idea is to come to council and come to the city manager to coordinate projects and ideas. There's a lot of good things happening in all of our parks. And right now we have our state Little League tournament out here this week, which we'll be bringing in, I believe it's 16 teams from around the state. And the city crews have been out there quite a bit. But I think we all recognize that though we've put a lot of effort towards focusing on that park, other parks need attention as well. So going forward, I think the idea was, again, to focus on communication, transparency, promotion of the volunteers and all the work that's been done, and continue promoting our youth baseball and softball. I've had the privilege of kind of being over in Delta County quite a bit in the last 2 weeks. I've heard over and over from a number of people that had kids playing over here, what a top-notch facility we have and how frankly it rivals anybody north of Green Bay and north of Traverse City. And talking about the facility we have. So it was nice to hear from around the area as well. So paragraph 24 requires a disclosure talking about gross income and how much, so that you can see, the council can get an idea of monies coming in, monies going out, and oversight to a degree on some of that fundraising activity. I think it's important to see if this just continue, how this continues to grow and grow and grow, so council can have a feel for the relationship with the volunteers out there and what they maybe can bring to the table by contributions of different nature throughout the year. Paragraph 25, along again with the communication idea, was to designate and require that a representative from the Diamonds Board be appointed as an ex officio member, so similar to what we have as the Norway Schools has an ex officio member, a liaison, if you will, to the Parks and Rec Board. Again, one of the things when we have this many entities under the city umbrella, if you will, working and doing what they can to promote our community, communication is important. And I think we have a lot of volunteers throughout our community, from the museum to the baseball fields, to softball, to bike trails, and trying to coordinate all that is difficult. We don't have in the budget, as far as I can see from council's comments, money for a Parks and Rec manager. Some of the bigger cities do that. Here, we're relying upon our city manager to coordinate that and work with the folks that are volunteering. So paragraphs 23, 24, and 25 are with that purpose. The one of the other things, Councilman Pop, who's not here, had brought up a point with some of the language. I think looking at paragraph 13, for example, wasn't aware, some of the things as I'm working with the Diamonds, I'm not aware of what the Diamonds does and what's the extent they do it. One of the previous drafts had referenced 100% of all proceeds going back into maintaining and improving the city of Norway softball fields and baseball fields. The point being, or the intention being, was that if you're going to be fundraising, utilizing the city property, that money goes back into the fields and the kids that are benefiting from it. It was brought to my attention that in the past they have purchased equipment as well for the kids. Catcher's gear is one example. Catching gear is expensive. Not every parent is going to go out and spend couple $100 of whatever it may be to get catcher's gear. So we did add in equipment purchases. And again, that's part of what each spring, I think it's an opportunity for the volunteers to come before council, or at least provide information to you guys to see if they're raising money, where is that money going? And they can talk about where, the expenditures and what they're doing to improve the fields, but also improve the opportunities for the kids that are using them.
Thank you, Grant. And I think I read through this and I think the changes you made are good changes. And I also, you're talking about volunteers. I want to thank everybody who's been out working on the baseball fields. It's hard to get volunteers. The Diamonds are doing this and they're volunteering out there. And I don't want this to be like we want to overlook everything they're doing and tell them everything they have to do. But it's just a good communication between the council and the Diamonds to see what's going on at our parks. So thank you again to the Diamonds, and thank you, Grant. And Jeff?
Yeah, Grant, just want to say I'm happy with the oversight piece that was put in there. I think it's fair. It's not overbearing.
Yes, sir.
It's just nice. You can look at things every year, make sure things are on the up and up, and money's going where it needs to be going. And I'm very happy with that, so thanks.
The group was more than happy, and they were happy to be working with council and appreciated both the comments and the willingness to recognize that, trying to formalize up kind of a relationship that there's been a group that's volunteers over the years. It's been generational. And as our facility out there just keeps getting bigger and better, it almost necessitates a little bit of formalization just to make sure we're on the same track here. And it's just for a little over a 1-year contract, guys. So I think everybody anticipates that there likely will be changes going forward, and changes will have to be discussed as it evolves. Hopefully it continues to grow and blossom and continue to be just a great landmark here within our community.
Any other questions or comments? Do I have a motion?
A motion, Diamond Board Agreement Resolution 2021-19 be approved.
Support.
Mr. Mararo?
Yes.
Mrs. Brew?
Yes.
Mr. Kramer?
Yes.
Mr. Menigini?
Yes.
We'll move on to approval of City Hall office hours.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This was brought up to council this spring, a request from staff to put together hours, change the hours at the City Hall. Started to discuss being summer hours. When we actually looked at other municipalities, which you see in your report and what we reported earlier, we pretty much are the last facility that was open till 5 p.m. Most of them have moved to that 4 p.m. Council approved having a schedule from Memorial Day through at least Independence Day, 4th of July, and then revisit the schedule based on if there were any complaints. Did not receive any complaints. I don't think the office received any complaints. Not sure if council received any complaints, but we're asking council to make those times permanent from 7:30 to 4. We did hear a positive comment that being open before 8 allowed people to actually come in before they went to work. So that was one of the positive comments we heard.
Any questions or comments? I haven't got any complaints on it.
Nor have I.
Anybody else?
Zero.
If I don't have no comments, do I have a motion?
I move that the city hall office hours remain at 7:30 a.m. to 4 p.m. and staff hours would be the same with the half an hour lunch.
Support.
Mrs. Brew,
Yes,
Mr. Kramer,
Yes.
Mr. Menehini,
Yes.
Mr. Morano.
Yes.
resolution 2021-25, local approval for on-premises tasting room permit, North Winds Distillery.
All right, looks familiar. It's not, it's a new form. We passed this at, it was the last meeting or the meeting before that, but we did approve it with a tasting room, and then we were told that they needed a separate form for tasting room permit. So we're bringing this back, and even though we approved it on the last form, it's, since it's a different form with all of the same information, basically with moved by and, all the information, we felt like it needed to have a new resolution number.
Any questions or comments? If not, do I have a motion?
I make a motion that resolution 2021-25 be approved.
Support.
Mr. Kramer,
Yes.
Mr. Menehini,
Yes.
Mr. Morano.
Yes.
Mrs. Brew.
Yes. Approval engineering 2020-24, small urban and rural task force paving project amendment. Mr. Anderson.
Okay, so through budget hearings, we had a request to look at some crush and shape jobs for our local roads. We looked at our budget and we did appropriate over $200,000 in the budget to handle that. It's actually $208,400. And just like in last year's project, the engineering support for putting out a bid package and also to do some testing on site is estimated at $10,000. We have an overall project that was bid out and moved forward with Coleman Engineering for 4 projects through the Rural Task Force. Last year, we decided to run this under an amendment, a change order of that project, and we're suggesting do the same thing this year. Then we can have all the terms and conditions applied. And what I did talk with Jordan up in Iron Mountain, and they have a similar project, maybe slightly larger than ours, that they were going to do the same. And he was actually requesting that we possibly coordinate, going out for bid. It's a very short bidding cycle. So at the next meeting, we could possibly have those bids back and for council to approve. The theory is that, we heard from a couple of contractors that thought that maybe their schedule wouldn't allow them on either one of our projects to do it this year yet. But if the project were large enough, we were hoping that they would consider doing that this fall. If that's not the case, then we can step back and rebid it this winter and have it come out in the spring.
I don't have a problem with that, if we could possibly get it done earlier.
Yeah, we'll have 2 separate bids, but we'll do it at the same time. The contractors then know, what we're doing. But yeah, so it should go pretty quickly. That's why with the contract and everything already in place with Coleman Engineering, it would make sense to just do a work order or change order to that agreement and move forward.
Any other questions or comments?
Yeah, Andy, I got the.
Okay.
So I need some clarification on these change orders. So we get 30 grand worth of change orders. So we got a 30% increase from the original contract.
Yeah, but the scope of work is increased.
Okay, that's
Exactly right. I mean, because
it's all scope work increases.
it's all scope of work increases, every single bit of it.
Just to get clarity on it.
Yep.
I'm good.
Do I have a motion?
I make a motion that the change order number 3 be approved on the Coleman Engineering Company Federal Aid Road Project contract for an amount of $10,000, bringing the total contract value not to exceed $130,365.50.
Support.
Mr. Menehini,
Yes.
Mr. Morano,
Yes.
Mrs. Brew,
Yes.
Mr. Kramer.
Yes.
Should I
Yeah, do the direct audience stuff first.
Should I do the audience stuff first? That's what I was thinking. Anyone in attendance wishing to address the council on any item of interest shall do so now at the podium. Anyone on Zoom must use the chat feature. Submit your question or comment and it will be read out loud by one of the members of staff. In either case, state your name and address for the record. Comments shall be limited to 3 minutes per person.
We don't have anybody.
All right. Periodically, the council meets in closed session. We will be going into closed session. Do you guys want to leave the meeting open and come back and vote on the contracts?
Yes,
Okay,
it's possible,
okay,
if possible, yeah.
possible. All right. You want to make a motion to go into closed
Motion,
session?
we go into closed session.
Support.
Mrs. Brew,
Yes?
Mr. Kramer.
Yes.
Mr. Menegini.
Yes.
Mr. Morale.
Yes.
For our record, we're going into closed session for collective bargaining discussions.
We'll use the. Let's use the
That's,
back.
that's,
Going back room.
thank you. We're going into closed session now.
Okay.
On
Or
that.
is that virtual?
We're done. With the supervisors, shouldn't we have asked them?
He presses record.
IVW supervisor.
I know this, so they know what we're doing. The supervisors. So they know what we're doing.
We're accepting the proposal.
Okay, all right. I need a motion to go back into open session.
I make a motion to go back in open session.
Support.
Mr. Kramer.
Yes.
Mr. Menegini.
Yes.
Mr. Morale.
Yes.
Mrs. Brew.
Yes. Resolution 2021-23 IBEW Supervisors Collective Bargaining Agreement. Are there any questions? If not, I need a motion.
Make a motion that resolution 2021-23 IBEW Supervisors Collective Bargaining Agreement be accepted.
Support.
Mr. Menegini.
Yes.
Mr. Morale.
Yes.
Mrs. Brew.
Yes.
Mr. Kramer.
Yes.
Move on to resolution 2021-24 IBEW Electric Department Local 906 Collective Bargaining. Do I have any questions? If not, do I have a motion?
A motion resolution 2021-24 IBEW Electric Department Local number 906 collective bargaining agreement be approved.
Support.
Mr. Morale.
Yes.
Mrs. Brew.
No.
Mr. Kramer.
Yes.
Mr. Menegini.
Yes.
And I would like everybody to know why I'm voting no is because everybody else got a 3% raise and the electric department got a 5% raise and 50 cents on 2 lead linemen. And I think that's a little bit too much between all the other employees. And the cost is pretty high on this with overtime and FICA.
And just to clarify on a 50-cent, Madam Mayor, we just like to let folks know that we found a possible OSHA violation where we had.
Yes, we did. Yes, we did.
We had to have lead linemen on projects. Thank you.
Yep, and he's right on that. I'm just adding both of them together, but we did need the lead lineman. All right, move on to mayor and council comments. Brett,
I have none. Thank you.
Jeff,
I have none, man.
Rico?
None.
Okay, I have a couple. What are the dates of the baseball tournaments? Are they starting this week?
Opening ceremony is 7 PM Thursday,
7 PM on Thursday. So if any,
22nd.
if anybody is interested and does it go right through the weekend?
Yeah.
Okay, so if anybody's interested, get out and watch our baseball players play ball on our wonderful fields that we have. Another thing I just want to remind people, we do have people going out and changing water meters. They're in their own vehicles, but they are from the city. And if you have any questions, just call City Hall. So we do have people going out and changing them. That's all I have, right?
Again, to bring up the baseball tournament, this is a state little league tournament, 9, 10-year-olds. The opening ceremony is on Thursday, the 22nd. The games run through, I believe, all the way through Monday, if I'm just not just the weekend, but there are a lot of games going on, a lot of people in the community. It's I think a good exposure for the community, and we're hoping that we get a lot of good feedback. We're already on it, so get out to Marion Park, and like the mayor says, check out our games. Want to also make a comment. At the last meeting, there was some concerns that were brought up. Over a couple of areas. One mainly was parking on the sidewalks, and I wanted to. I looked back on that situation. And that is something that is in our ordinance. It's in our right-of-way ordinance that it is illegal to park over the sidewalk, restricting foot traffic. And we have worked on that over the years. There are many areas across the city that we have this issue. And with council's assistance, we have looked at trying to figure out a way of administering to it, but also dealing with some of the issues we have with that parking, as far as with their houses and their garages being close. If they can walk around the vehicle and do it on the driveway, that's something that the chief does look at, or the police. And so we do. We are familiar with that. And we also, like I said, it is in our right-of-way ordinance. So it's not something that we were unfamiliar with. The other is, I think there was some comments about vehicle registrations. That is something that was changed a few years ago. On private property is not in the vehicle code, that it's required to have the registrations. It's something the planning commission looked at and the council looked at and said there are many situations where we wanted to give some relief. That does not mean that the vehicle can be inoperable, and so the property maintenance still deals with that, but that's something that the police department then would deal with the individual to show that it's still an operable vehicle. So those are two comments that I'm making based on the concerns from last meeting. I don't know if council has anything they wanted to add to those.
Thanks for your bit.
Okay. So we've got, we're midway through the summer. So looking forward to finishing out our summer, and everybody have a safe and good summer.
You too, right?
Yeah, thank you.
Grant?
Nothing, thank you.
Have a motion to adjourn?
Motion, we adjourn.
Support.
Mrs. Brew,
Yes?
Mr. Kramer.
Yes.
Mr. Menegini,
Yes.
Mr. Mararo.
Yes.
Adjourn.